Guy, I'm going to actually start the story again. So to say that Guy and his wife Jules both come from families that charity was very important to their families. They both come from strong families, both there.
Dropping out again, I think you turned it off.
Is that?
No.
There we go.
No.
Wow. Okay. Can stand very So, after being in the public eye for about 10 years, Guy had been hit up by pretty much every single charity and given quite a lot of his own time and his own money, but not seeing where this was really adding up to actually making a difference within the lives of very many people. And so he decided with his wife to start his own foundation. I don't, is it?
Just talk loud.
Okay, so Guy and Jules decided to start their own foundation. This is probably a bit better. And it takes quite a while to actually do that because obviously there's a whole lot of tax benefits and people can think it's a tax rot and the government needs to make sure that that's exactly what it is not. And so at the time that the foundation was actually born was the same time that Jules was having their first child. And Guy, after travelling around the country and seeing so many issues all throughout Australia, looked at his little boy and knew that he was going to do everything that he could to give that boy the best chance to become a good human being. And recognised that a strong family unit is so important in growing good individuals and good communities. So he set up a foundation with this view to replace a little bit of the warmth and benefit of family where it's missing. So we do a lot of work in domestic violence shelters. We do a lot of work that families who are going through a serious illness, whether it be of the child or of the parent, and just generally underprivileged. It's a lovely broad umbrella, but we kind of like that because it allows us to do a lot of things for a lot of people. And when Wallace first got in contact with us, and I think there was a story on 60 Minutes where the Sebastian Foundation story might be described a little bit more eloquently than I've managed to do it tonight, but which I think is where Wallace first came across the Sebastian Foundation and got in contact with us and explained what she was doing. And we immediately really warmed to the idea, of course, of what Wallace was doing. But it took, after I got off the phone the first time and spent about half an hour thinking about actually the value of dressing and how important it is for many of the women that we deal with who have been through incredibly difficult circumstances. We meet women who have totally forgotten themselves. They're living in a domestic violence situation and generally their whole being is catered around their children and just getting them and their kids through the day and being alive. They're totally forgotten. And Wallace's book and the sentiment behind it just really brought home to us how important that is at many different stages of life to be considering that. And it's something that we have definitely taken into some of the work that we do. Wallace has agreed to give $10 from the sale of her book to the Sebastian Foundation, and it's such a generous thing to do. We're so to be here tonight. I'm sorry that he's not. It's another one of the good things about my job is I get to disappoint people very often. But he is extremely grateful for your generosity, and he really enjoyed sort of writing the forward, which is in the book. Where he said he was quite conscious of it for the first time, only when you made him think about what he actually does and how he uses dressing to give himself a bit of a boost when he's doing things like early morning breakfast radio.
Talk a little louder.
4:30 a.m. calls, but I'm pretty much done. I think that's it. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Good start.
It is true that yesterday I was up latest building a theatre set, running a team of 10 set builders. And it looks absolutely bloody amazing. We spent 10 people, 4 days, and we've built this fabulous set. It satisfies the inner project manager in me, and I get to do some scenic art, which my family kicked me out of the house because I painted too many walls. So I went to the theatre, and then they complained I was in the theatre too much. You can't win. So yeah, it's really great. It's great working with a different team of people each time, because now in my consulting and mentoring business, it's more one-to-one, and I don't get to boss people around as much. Look, I first met Wallace at a book function with my book mentor, and we clicked. Could have been, it was probably because we're two of the more mature people in the room. And since then we've got on fairly well, and we keep bumping into each other. But to see this book, like, it took me 3 months to get my shit together, to get the book together, and mine's a paperback, and I de-brained what I had in my head and got it published, and that took me 3 months. Wallace has taken this photo shoot of how many people, my love?
About, well, all in all, I think there's about 60 people, but we did a photo shoot of 20 odd.
There were 20 odd,
yeah.
And then other people that have been brought in, like to coordinate all that and to get that into a glossy book and published. And we had that photo shoot, it was late June.
Yes.
Yes.
July.
July it was, even. There you go. And on the photo shoot, that would have to be one of the happiest, best days I think I've ever had. I drove across town, a little nervous because the photos of me just not that happy, but for Wallace, I did it. And to get in that room and with many of the women and men who were at that photo shoot are in the room today, and everybody was just saying and helping each other, tucking in tags, ironing, helping, encouraging, fixing hair and saying how fabulous we looked, and we all did. And I came out of that and I had an absolute pop of happy. And I haven't let it go, which is fantastic. So for that I thank you, Wallace.
Well, I brought my notes because I knew I'd have about 2 drinks by now, so I couldn't forget what I was going to say. But it's what a privilege to be here to celebrate the launch of Bold Not Owned. Oh, thank you, Wallace. You are an absolute inspiration. Not only disrupting ageing in this generation, but setting a new set of rules for the next. When Wallace asked me to be a part of this movement, I really didn't know what to expect, but it's already made a difference, believe it or not, in my life. And I'm sure it has been for all of you here. For me, it was again a big reminder that we can all be what we want to be. Year numbers has nothing to do with it. Bold Not Old is reminding me that we are a state of mind, not a state of body and age. Mine are getting a bit disintegrated as we go. We are healthier and we're living longer, and as Wallace points out in her book, there are 2 billion of us over 60 category. That's a hell of a lot, and I sincerely believe we have a choice. We can give up and expect to be looked after. That's been a bit the model, hasn't it? Or we can be bold and not old. really live until we die doing whatever we want to do, not what we're expected to do by social norms. The way we dress is only an outward and visible sign of a change that is going on in our hearts and in our heads. A new approach to ageing. Wallace reminds us that the world will treat us the way in which we treat the world. Be old and we'll be treated as old. Actually, it really worries me when somebody stands up for me on a tram. I have the shit experience. So let's be young at heart and keep the brain going. Try new things. We all have multiple careers in us, and it's not too late to start one at any age. I'm still working at 75. I call it play these days. I find the experience I've accumulated over the years is an incredibly valuable asset. I think we should all count the assets that we've actually accumulated through our lives. But you know, there are so many lessons learned that we can actually help other people with. I think it'd be a shame not to use them all. They do say that youth is wasted on the young. It'd be interesting to live your life the other way around, wouldn't it? Seriously, this life experience that we've all got presents so many opportunities to be bold and not old, and to be a valuable contributor to our society in so many ways, work and play, putting back and what I call paying it forward. I'm so looking forward, Wallace, to being part of the Bold Not Old movement, whatever shape it takes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wallace was first introduced to me by a man called Dr. Robert McNeely. Some of you will know who he is. He is a very famous psychotherapist. He was a gynaecologist, all sorts of things in the medical establishment in Victoria, but he runs the Milton Erickson Institute in Australia, and he teaches psychotherapy. He teaches in Denmark, he teaches around the world. He's a highly respected fellow, and he introduced Wallace to me and said, she's a bit of a tour de force. And what does it mean? She's going to be a loudmouth. She was coming to join a group that I was being trained in. We're both trained as psychotherapists and hypnotherapists, so be careful, are you feeling sleepy? No, we're both Ericksonian hypnotherapy. It's quite good if you need any most wonders for weight. I put it on my throat. No, it's all good stuff. Anyway, what can I tell you is that I knew immediately that I had something with Wallace, and you probably, for her to talk you into posing with the green screen into getting into this book, she's obviously got something going for her. And it's, for me, I just like her company. I always feel good in Wallace's company. And spending time together. When you go to Wallace's house, or Wallace and Lois's house, there's no TV automatically, like with most of my friends, playing away in the background. Because if they don't have television, I'll have YouTube running, and you kind of talk across that. Not at her place, there's none of that background noise. You get 100% Wallace and 100% Lois, which can be quite heavy, but that's what you get. Well, when you eventually struggle out, no. You know you've had an evening with friends, with your own friends. Wallace has helped me, and many other people in so many ways, probably most of all by sharing from this enormous knowledge that she has. Some might say, God, is there nothing you don't know? But it is true, she knows a great deal. Ask her about where you plant a rose, what kind of soil, what kind of... No. She just knows those things. And then of course, I Google it, I look it up, she's always right. Well, I've seen Wallace transform the most barren backyard into the most beautiful garden. And she did it with bits and pieces of nothing much, but it all was beautiful. And she's an extraordinarily clever person. And she's been a tremendous amount of support to me. I remember once, I had to find, my doctor had moved to I can't even remember the name, West Meadows. And I said, some godforsaken place, I had to find it. But I really liked this doctor. And she said, that's near the little shopping centre with the... Yes! How did she know this? How is that stored? This out-of-the-way place in this woman's mind. She's been there. There's not much of the universe that she hasn't been. She's adventured to so many places and turned her mind to so many different things. And she's worked and earned a living at many different things. And she's just an amazing person. You know this. Some of her questions are, how long do you think you want to feel like that? And it might sound like, what do you mean, how I'm feeling depressed? What do you mean? Well, she'll say, how long do you want to feel like that for another 6 months? Do you want to keep feeling like that? She kind of is the sort of person who makes you stand in your own reality and make a bit of a judgment about what you're doing. How would you feel if you didn't feel like that? How would it feel to let that go? Do you want to let it go now, or do you want to hang on to it for another week or 2 or 3? Whether it's anger, being rejected, whatever. And all of our lives go up and down. All of us go through all kinds of cycles. And there's no one formula that fixes it. But certainly a bit of solid introspection, some honesty is great. And Wallace has helped me and my partner do a number of things. I've had some really difficult times in the last 4 or 5 years, or we have. And she's been a rock, and I appreciate that about her. So she is a thought leader. She is an influencer. I don't know how she manages to influence people as much as she does. I'd love to have that, but she has it. She tells me that getting older is like learning to ride a new bike. And the idea of conscious ageing, she says, requires you to take a look at how we personally project and create our own reality. Now, I am always a bit sus of people who say create your own reality, and I know that the people at the foundation know that if you're a victim of domestic violence, you haven't created that reality. But then I used to be a school principal, and I remember one woman. We had a shelter near my school. I won't tell you much about it, but one woman came to stay. Her kids were out of school, and after about 6 months, which is about the period they give you at the shelter, she said, and this was a woman who'd been found in the boot of her car, banging to get out when her husband had driven to pick up the kids, obviously to take them away and do God knows what. And she said, Mr. Pollock, I decided to go back and make my marriage work. And I thought, there is a point, even I'm not blaming that woman for anything, but there is a point at which we need to learn to be brave enough to take the steps we need to take, to let go. And Wallace is consummately good at helping people to do that. Letting go of rubbish, seeing new possibilities. You've done it for me, you've done it for lots of people, I'm sure you'll go on. I hope that's what this movement does. Her passion for style and fashion has fired creativity and taken this direction. And I was a bit, I thought, what's this about clothing? But I actually see it now, not just because I see so many beautifully dressed people, but it is making a statement and not letting the world make a statement about you and put you in a corner somewhere with a crocheted rug. You'll be fine. And anyway, so here she is. She's a woman I truly admire, a woman to watch, a friend to all of us in this room, a woman of grand passions and ideas, Wallace Patterson.
I do have a couple of mentions first, and I'd like to do a little talk, but and I won't take too long on that, hopefully. But I'd love to make a couple of special mentions to people who have been absolutely amazing, as you all have been, actually. I don't want any of you to think that you haven't and are not one of the most amazing people in my life. Thank you so much to you all. You've been absolutely wonderful. We had as good a photographer with you. You all look absolutely fabulous tonight. You've turned out at my request to be here for the launch of the book. I do hope that it's lived up to everything that you wanted it to be or you want it to be. What you do with it is entirely up to you. You're in the book. It will be marketed worldwide. There will be lots and lots of things done. I just want to briefly announce that there's a couple of good things on the horizon for Bold Not Old. One of those is that the Bold Not Old Productions are joining with Hag Productions, operated by Dr. Jay Harley, and we'll be doing this coming year a fabulous documentary on ageing, and it'll have a really good spin to it. So that will be hopefully syndicated in other parts of the world as well. On top of that, we're looking currently at a place overseas, purchasing a place overseas that we can have as a Bold Not Old retreat, and lots of people hopefully will be joining us there for, I don't know, workshops, all sorts of things, and perhaps even just sitting outside with a glass of wine, some fresh food, and just laughing our heads off and enjoying ourselves every minute of the time. So,
And then we do a cruise.
Sorry?
A cruise?
A cruise? Yeah, why not? Let's have a cruise. I love cruising. So the special mentions, though, are Dr. Jay Harley, who, without her assistance and without her design of the cover and the book itself, when I really, really needed someone to come along to take up that challenge, she appeared, and I'll be forever grateful. Thank you, Dr. Jay. To our photographer Larry Pitt, who put in so much work into the photo shoot, and then I dragged him out again the following week around Fitzroy and Carlton and all sorts of other areas, and says, quickly jump out of the car, photograph that. And I think he could have killed me, because he was like, what do you mean that? And here he was almost laying on his stomach, photographing graffiti on the walls. He's disappeared since. I've seen very little of him, and I can understand why. I think he's written me off. He's just been kindness and smiling at me when he sees me. So thank you, Larry, for all of your work. It's been fabulous. All of the participants in the book, I thank you from my heart. My heart says thank you to all of you. But those that are here and those that aren't, I really, really appreciate all your input. Thank you. A special mention to Chrissy Gillies, who did the interview and has been a staunch supporter of myself and the movement. And in fact, we were talking earlier about where do we go from here and what do we do? The whole thing about being bold, not old, is boldness is not about being brash being in your face. It's not about any of those things. People sometimes mistake boldness for that. It's not that. Boldness is, I had it explained to me once very beautifully, that boldness is the language of entrepreneurs. Boldness is about initiative. It's about taking initiative with your life. It's a wonderful, wonderful word. There is a man called Uliolala who has a wonderful piece written about boldness, and it's most inspiring, and it certainly isn't about, being brash and, as I said, in your face. So that's my little thank yous. Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love, wrote another book called Big Magic. In the book Big Magic, which I was very attracted to, anything magic I love. Harry Potter, anything, you've got me, I love it. Take me to Hogwarts any day and I'd have a most marvellous time. She wrote a book called Big Magic. In the book she's talked about many, many things, but one of the things that caught my imagination in the book was this concept, this explanation about inspiration. And that inspiration is something that exists outside of ourselves. It's not something our mind thinks up. It's not something that we go, I don't know, I just can't get inspired. Well, that's because inspiration didn't come knocking yet. And when it does, you'll know. And it might knock on many doors, as it has over the time, at once. But it may only knock on your door and it'll hang about a while. Maybe for a short while, maybe for a long time. There was a book written, had the title that we thought of, and we say, oh, that was my idea. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was inspiration coming knocking on your door. And if you do nothing with it, it gets bored with you and it'll move on to another receptive person. It'll move on to someone else who says, yep, got it, I'm for you. Bold Not Old was about that. It was about an inspired thought. It was about something that came knocking, and I said, no, not now. No, this isn't it. No, this is not for me. We've all done it. But it hung about, it hung on, and it kept at me. It never left me alone. And I thought, okay, I'll do it. But I had no idea how I was going to do it, when I was going to do it. Well, actually, I did know when, because this particular inspiration that arrived at my door came knocking with a date and said that we're going to have this book out by the 28th of October. Most people around me said impossible, you'll never do it, it's too short, why don't you leave it till next year, don't put pressure on yourself, you know all the things that people tell you. It's a bit like life, isn't it? Life's not over when somebody says it's over. It's over when you tell yourself it's over. Ruth Stone, the American poet, famous American poet, puts it very beautifully about inspiration. When she was a young woman growing up in rural Virginia, she lived on a farm. And she said it was like she'd be out in the fields and she'd hear poetry coming at her across the fields like a galloping horse. And she'd turn around and she'd run like crazy back to the house so she could grab a piece of paper and a pen to get it written down. On one such occasion, she heard it coming across the fields and she took off, but it was quickly catching up. She got to the house, she grabbed the paper, she said it was like a tiger that had run through her, and she knew that if she didn't grab hold of its tail and pull it back in, it'd move on to the next willing poet. And she grabbed hold of its tail and she was pulling it back in, like she was reeling this tiger back into herself, and at the same time writing as quickly and as crazily as she could. When it was all done, she looked down at the page and it was all perfect, but it was written backwards. True story. Inspiration. Inspiration comes knocking in our lives as we get older, I think that we have such a freedom to experience our life in ways that we never could before. We don't have an ego to build on. We, quite frankly, most of us have got to a stage where we don't give a damn about what other people think, and we don't care what they say. Freedom comes with getting older, comes with being an elder. So does wisdom. So does all that experience. And I'm going to say to you, don't waste it. Don't wonder what you can do with your life. Don't sit behind the blue haze and say, my life is over. I'm too old. I can't do this. Got a sore knee, got a sore hip, got a sore toe, back aches. Comes with the territory.
They're the good days.
We just simply are getting older. I thought I had more time to get old. But I find myself at 73 very inspired, and every day I pray inspiration will hang about. Long enough for me to do what it is it's giving me the ideas to do. Keep me reasonably healthy. Keep me going, keep me motivated, keep me in touch with reality, keep me around positive and uplifting people. I want to leave you with this. It's a question I'm going to ask you, and I want you to ask yourself this from this day forward. Why not? Why not live an inspired life? Why not? Why not be everything that you could possibly be? Why not? Why not try some of those things that you really, really have wanted to try and you hold yourself back for? And by the way, if you're worried about what other people think, people only care about themselves. They don't actually care about you. You think they do, but they don't. They only care about them. Be inspired. Why not? I leave you these two words. Be spectacular. Thank you.